Hey, what's up? It's Comic95 the Savior, and yeah, I am going to try my best to make this conversation clear, but I'm gonna get in my feelings, might get a little bit loud, I'm warning you. I'm angry. When am I not? I have so much that I want to talk about, and it's gonna be a long video, but it's on the topic of dating, but about myself. So it's going to be a little bit of, not really a story time, but like a personal situation that I just got through dealing with. And it comes from the dating app Pairs, which, if you're not familiar with my channel, it's basically the Japanese equivalent of eHarmony. It is a Japanese dating app that is made for marriage. So it's extremely popular, the most popular serious dating app here in Japan. The only app that I think is more popular than that is possibly Tinder. But Tinder has a mixture of mostly foreigners. I wouldn't say mostly. There's a large amount of foreigners using the app. It's still mostly Japanese because it is Japan. But Pairs has significantly less foreigners for obvious reasons. It's a marriage app and not just for casual having sex or casual dating. And on top of that, the app does cost money. It is not free. But that's all a whole other story. We're not going to get into all of that here. I just want to explain and give some backstory on it so my video makes sense. So, I shared the information about what exactly went on Patreon. So if you want to be nosy and see the conversation that I had, you can sign up for Patreon. It'll also help me as a creator and support me. You'll also instantly gain access to over 100 videos and tons of photos and written journals detailing stuff that's going on in my day-to-day life behind the scenes outside of YouTube. But back on subject. I was on the app, and I say this on Patreon already, but I never like people. I always wait for them to do it to me. I'm one of the most popular users on the app. I'm in the 1 percentile. Not saying it to brag, just explaining why I don't bother with it. And as I told you guys before on my channel, I generally don't date foreigners. And I gave my reason why I don't, for a lot of different reasons. It's not a matter of fetishizing after Japanese people, but I live in Japan, so what's wrong with me deciding that I want to date Japanese people? When people move to America, they normally want to date other Americans. People don't normally move to the US and look for people from their own respective countries, for several reasons that I've already given before, but to quickly talk about that again, it makes your life easier to be married to an American because, for starts, your visa is handled with ease. Secondly, you have somebody that is a native, both, language-wise and culturally. They can help you with doing day-to-day things, whether it's giving birth in a hospital or signing your kids up for school or handling legal issues or going grocery shop. They know the country, they know the culture. Okay, well, Japan is the exact same way. I equally talk about everybody on my channel. I've gotten on white people, Asian people, black people. Nobody's the exception to the rule. So I cannot win myself over, but I cannot prove myself to you about what my intentions are, my reasons for anything, and I don't care to do so. Think and believe whatever you want to. But anyway, back on subject. Yeah, I literally, oh my god, ew, got something nasty in my mouth. I feel like a hair. But anyway, I literally have had several different situations in which I've got into with black people, specifically black men, of course, about this topic. They get hurt over it, which I talked about how it's really funny because even the black men here in Japan, they normally do not date black women. And when they do date black women, it's literally just that, date. They don't marry them. They're literally here and, they're here for Asian girls. A lot of them have a fetish for Asian women. They're just in denial over it. And likewise, a lot of the black women here have a fetish for Asian men. And they're in denial over it. So I'm not here to call people out for their fetishes and whatnot. I don't really give a crap. And I also want to make it clear, there's a difference between dating somebody and liking them as a person and dating somebody and liking them because of their race. I've literally read comments even on my own channel from people, oh, I don't have a fetish, but I specifically like this race because X, Y, and Z. And it's like, that's a fetish. You are just categorizing everybody as being this one idea, one type of person based off of your perception of who you think they're going to be based off of their race. And this is all a whole other topic. It goes much deeper than that. I'm not going to bother to get into that for this video, but this guy literally proved why I can't even make exceptions to that rule. So I was going through my likes and I noticed there was this really handsome, fine black man. And he was dressed really nicely. And as I talked about it on Patreon, I was not a fan of his hairstyle. He had this weird, what do they call those, those bump it hairstyles? The little, bump in the front? He had dreads that were, his hair was shaved on the sides. And he had dreadlocks, long dreadlocks, that were put inside of that little bump it, hairdo. And then styled like a mohawk and braided in the back into a ponytail. It looked awful. But aside from the hairstyle, he looked good. He had good skin. His, facial hair was nicely trimmed. And I don't like beards and whatnot, but it was nicely, it wasn't like a real beard. Like, they have like the little sideburns that like kind of go around. I don't know what you call those hairstyles. I'm not into body hair. I don't like facial hair at all. But, yeah, so anyway, I thought that he was handsome. And I knew there had to be a catch to it. So like I scrolled down side of his profile, and immediately upon reading his profile, I like lost all interest. It was very obvious that he used Google Translate to make his profile. And the way that he wrote it, if he didn't say that he was an American and from California in his profile, I would have thought that he was from some random African country, because it was not written like a native English speaker. It literally looked like a bot account. His profile constantly highlighted the fact that he was a business owner, a music producer, a CEO, all of this type of crap, and he was a model too. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this dude is full of cap. But he was dressed really nicely. But the more I looked at his photo, the more weird shit I started to see. Like, for example, he had on a Superman belt, which threw off the entire outfit. And between that and the hairstyle, I was like, yeah. And then on top of that, if that wasn't enough, I noticed that he had information missing from his profile. So for example, he didn't have his salary listed, and he didn't specify whether or not he had children. And if I recall, I don't think it even specified whether or not he had graduated from university. Now, to remind you once again, this is more like an eHarmony style dating app. This is not Tinder. The purpose in pairs is to help couples get married to one another. There are people on the app looking for casual sex, which you're not supposed to be doing on there, and there are people looking for language exchange, jobs, friends, etc. But once again, that is not the purpose in the app. People misusing and abusing the app doesn't change the app's intended purpose or the users or audience that they intend to have it for. For example, there are men who watch my YouTube channel because they think I'm cute, and they literally will slide in my DMs and be like, oh, I've never been to Japan, but you ever come back to ever, like, hit me up, or I want to go to Japan and date. I get stuff like that all the time. But does that change the fact that the topic of my channel is on Japan, or that, I talk about dating? It's like, it doesn't change what my intentions are and what my channel is just because other people choose to misuse and or abuse my content. Okay, likewise, people using an application and deciding they want to make it for something else doesn't change what it is intended for. So, yeah, I noticed he was missing information from his profile, and my first reaction was to simply not match back with him, because that's the way that I normally would treat a Japanese man. Anytime that somebody likes me on the app, the way that I choose whether or not I want to even converse with them is I don't even read your profile. I'm gonna keep it real. And when I say profile, I mean like the written portion where you just tell me about yourself. I immediately scroll down and see the important factual information. I want to see where you are from, where you're living, what your salary is, how tall you are, do you have children, have you been divorced? I look at that type of information first and foremost. Why? And I want to see, your time frame. How long do you want to date before getting married? Those are important questions to ask. Things that a lot of people don't think to ask, or are afraid to ask, or they're too busy fixating on the fact my partner is attractive, they're young, they're whatever. So mind you, this man was 42 years old. He's really too old for me, but to be honest, I don't mind dating men in their 40s. Like for me, the max age that I'll date a man is 20 years older than me. So as of right now, 46 is my cap, but preferably I would like for my man to be somewhere between about 31 to about maybe 38 years old is my preference. I am willing to date a little bit older and a little bit younger than that, but that's just to explain some backstory. So I stupidly decided to go ahead and like him. And mind you, his profile has several times mentioned, even inside of the part where, it's information about you, where the profile literally prompts you with yes or no questions, or where you have to drag down on a list and choose, this is my job, this is my salary range, etc. And so, yeah, his profile just kept saying, I'm CEO, yes, I'm really whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, like, I really just wish you just stuck to write into English. This is super cringe that you're switching back and forth between Japanese and English. And secondly, this is what I'm talking about, how people, especially Americans, like, just say that, I don't want to contradict previous videos because I don't want you to say that you don't speak Japanese, because it encourages you to have a cycle of never learning Japanese. But I hate whenever people pretend like they have a higher level than what they really do. Like, for example, myself, anytime I meet somebody, I always tell them that I don't speak Japanese, which is a lie. I know that I can speak Japanese, but my purpose in doing it is not to facilitate English conversation per se, but rather, I don't want you to think that my ability is more than what it really is. And so then, of course, upon talking to me, you will see me use Japanese or be capable of reading it, and then you'll be like, I thought you couldn't couldn't speak Japanese. But for me, it's a matter of doing it Japanese style and admitting the fact that I'm not good at it. For example, I've forgotten a lot of stuff from Spanish, but I started taking Spanish when I was in 3rd grade, which is much earlier than most Americans who are not, Latino, whatever. They don't have any need to do it until you get to at least junior high school. But for many people, your first experience is in high school in America. Things might be changing nowadays, but I'm talking about how things were back in my day. I went to private school and I had the benefit of learning from a woman who was actually Hispanic and actually from Mexico. So that's all a whole other story. But yeah, with that said, even here in Japan, I've had situations where I was able to answer questions or knew what somebody was asking for. I've even had people come up to me and speak Spanish to me, asking me for help. So just, of course, small, simple things. I'm not going to, lie to you on cap and pretend like I'm, fluent in Spanish or whatever. But I'm just giving you some explanation for that. So the problem that I had was his profile seemed like something from a sugar daddy or somebody that's clearly being fake, because the way that I see it is when you're doing something or have something, you don't have to mention it several times. You mention it once and you let it go. And the fact that he wasn't willing to put a salary, and mind you, my patrons know this, I dated a guy who was a CEO himself and that actually owned several different franchises of Family Mart back in Osaka. And he was definitely a fuck boy, but he was legitimately rich. He had money. But despite the fact that he had money, he wasn't spending that money on me, realistically. But that's all a whole nother story. So I already had my guard up. And upon talking to this guy, upon matching with him, he immediately messaged me and told me, it's nice to meet you, whatever, was talking to me in Japanese, but it was very obvious he was using Google Translate, very simple, basic Japanese, and he was talking in feminine terms, for example, using things like watashi wa, and even like the way that he introduced himself, like, I can't really explain it, but like, when you've been in Japan for a long time, you can tell the difference between a foreigner writing to you in Japanese and a Japanese person writing to you in Japanese. It's really hard to explain. And I also want to clarify, there's a lot of myths. For example, like anata wa, Japanese people do use that. It's not uncommon to see. There's circumstances where you don't use it, in which it will be uncommon, but those terms are used. It doesn't make you not native for using it. So that's all a whole nother story. It's the equivalent of the US version of hello. Yes, we normally say hi even in business circumstances. Saying hello does not mean you're not a native English speaker, but there are circumstances when hello is more formal when greeting or talking to someone. But we're not going to get into all of that stuff right now. What I want to say is, immediately upon talking to him, of course, these questions are on my mind, because for me, I normally won't talk to you, I won't match with you if I can't see this information up front. Again, it's a marriage and dating app, and this is Japan, not America. These are questions that Japan expects for you to fill out inside of your application. The majority of male users have this filled out inside of their application. And for me, I don't want to talk to somebody when I can't see what you look like. I can't see how tall you are. I cannot see, your marital history. I cannot see if you have children or not. I cannot see if you have a bachelor's degree or not. Like, the list just goes on. All of these questions that I have. Now, for this man, he did list his height. And that's, if he's even telling the truth about that, he said that he was like, I think 5'10", according to his profile. About 5'10", 5'11". 179 centimeters. But my issue was like, okay, I'm glad that he put that part. But I want to know, honestly, before I matched you, I've literally, I have tons of people, I showed it on a live stream before, that I refused to match back with because I believe they were F-boys, whether it be they're too young or their bio didn't say anything about marriage, which this guy's bio didn't really talk about that either. I don't like wasting my time. And somebody that, doesn't bother to write about what they're looking for, doesn't write about their goals, their plans, their future, you're withholding information that's important when choosing a spouse. I don't want to have to go through the awkwardness and uncomfortableness of having to ask you. So I simply won't match with you, because it can also be presumed that if you don't want to tell me directly, on your own and just have it there for everyone to see, resume style, you simply don't have it. For example, while there are some rare circumstances, because I've definitely met a couple of people that fit those rare circumstances, one in particular, if a man doesn't have his height listed, you can generally assume that he is going to be short. Likewise, if a girl only has photos showing you her face and you can never see her body in any of her pictures, you can assume that the girl is going to be obese or overweight or whatever the case is. Alright. So, yeah, and the same thing goes with trolls. People make up all the excuses under the sun. But the reality is, for a lot of people that are trolling, on sites like Twitter, etc., their reasoning for not having a profile picture isn't privacy or any other type of crap excuses that they give. Rather, they recognize that if they have their actual profile picture, people will clown them. They will call them ugly, fat, tell them they shouldn't be using the N-word. The list goes on. But when you don't have a profile picture, you can pretend to be anything, anyone, any race that you want to be. So yeah, there's that I can't say the word, anonymity or whatever you say it. I hate those words. But yeah. So anyway, like for this guy, immediately palm messaged him. I don't hold back, because as soon as I say, like, nice to meet you, and I started talking to him in English, because I'm like, why am I talking to you in Japanese when your level of Japanese is lower than mine? And I already talked about this on Patreon. If you want to see the entire conversation for yourself, you can go there. Upon starting the conversation, his first message to me is trying to clarify if I'm half Japanese or not. I knew where this conversation was going for two reasons. One, people trying to secure visa sponsorship, which, touche, I have mixed feelings about that. And two, colorism. There's no secret that the black men here in Japan, the vast majority of them, they like people like me because I can pass for being half Japanese, racially ambiguous. I mean, look at me. I have lighter skin than Naomi Osaka. I have looser curls than she does. And to be honest, I'm really the type of person that you want to have representing Japan when it comes to half black people. I don't say it to be cocky or full of myself, but I'm being real. And this is a topic that we can get into for another video. But the real issue that a lot of Japanese people have with half Japanese people is the fact that they're not attractive. It's not so much a matter of you being black. So don't get me wrong, you're not going to get treated as though you are fully Japanese yourself per se, but a lot of the bullying that you see takes place inside of schools. The reason why not all black people have the same experience is because of that. If you have lighter skin, looser curls, you're viewed as attractive. Yes, you're still going to get bullied for being different from the group, but your bullying is mostly going to cease by the time you become an adult. And even as a child, it's not going to last as long as someone that is deemed as unattractive, undesirable, that has darker skin, tighter, curls, coils, if you will. So much more can be talked about. I'll make another video on that topic. I'm not here to talk about that right now. But anyway, he asked me that, and so instead of answering his question, I immediately responded back and I said, "What's your salary?" And he laughed at it and told me that, the question was taboo, that's too personal, I don't need to know that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if I recall, even the first direct message that he sent me after matching with me was him reminding me that he's a CEO. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, how can you make your entire bio talk about your career, but then you're shying away from the topic of your salary, which is a very important question, which can also tell somebody whether you're full of shit and capping or not, because anybody could say that they're a CEO. I'm a CEO. This is my YouTube channel. I started an entire brand off of it. I have a Twitter account. I have an Instagram account. I have, a blog. I have OnlyFans now. I have a whole list of things. Patreon. This is my brand, Comic95. I've started several different YouTube channels, and one day I will make this, a legitimate business itself. So am I a CEO then? And then, even with everything else, okay, so you're a model, you're a CEO, just everything he was saying, it was too much going on, and it wasn't adding up. And so I know it sounds hypocritical, but for me, I've already proved myself. I have a legitimate visa for modeling, but I'm also honest with the fact that I'm not doing anything with it right now. And to be honest, even once I do start doing stuff with it, I'm aware that it cannot be used as real full-time work. It's really hard to secure full-time work as a model, no matter where you are in the world, and especially being here in Japan. Market is oversaturated. It's full of foreigners, and they're always looking for foreign talent. But Japan has some of the lowest wages out of any developed country. You're not going to be making bank doing any sort of entertainment work. You'll get a nice couple of paychecks and maybe some royalties, but you're not going to be able to survive off of just doing that. The average person will not. I don't even know of anybody that's been able to do this full time. And I've met several people that have done brands with things like McDonald's, Puma, Nike, Uniqlo, all these different type of companies, and still they're not making a full-time living off of that. People have done work with Square Enix, have you pronounced it? And it sounds cool, and people can exaggerate and cap and make you think they're really doing something, but they're not. And this is what I always try to say to my subscribers too, because I think people think that I'm just withholding information because I'm jealous. I don't want people to be better than me or do more than me. I hope that you do, but the reality is you have to wake up and smell the coffee. You're not going to make it big here being some superstar model. I promise you, you're not. I don't want to crush your dreams, but it's no different than your teacher telling you that you're not going to be a rapper, and you have those 1 out of a billion people that make it, and then they try to encourage other people to follow in their footsteps, and it's like you're setting yourself up for disaster, because not even 1 million, not even 100, not even 5 of you out of that classroom are going to fulfill your dreams of being an NFL player, basketball player, or a rapper. So it does make sense to take school seriously. So back on topic, I got frustrated immediately because he refused to answer the question, and instead, as we went back and forth, he stayed respectful to me, which is the reason why I'm not going to share his face or say his name, and he stayed respectful towards me. But the problem that I had was is that he tried to flip the switch or flip the script and make it seem like I was a gold digger and I was a bad person for caring about his money, and made it sound like I was trying to use him and like the reason why he doesn't list there so he doesn't attract bad people like me. And it's like, yeah, right, bullshit. This dude was totally gaslighting me. So basically, because you are ashamed that you're not making a lot of money and you're probably working a regular poor man's job as a teacher, which is fine, you want to get people that are out of your league. You want to attract more Japanese women. You want to get more matches, which is the reason why he had more matches than the average foreigner would have, because he had a salary listed, because he didn't have a salary listed, but he bragged about being a CEO and he was dressed sharply inside of his photos. So, yeah, he knew what he was doing. So it's like you're using the fact that you have this position, which implies that you have a certain salary, to talk to women. But then women are bad for talking to you for that reason. And he didn't have anything to say in response to that. I had to also remind him, he's like, oh, because I told him, I was like, you like me because you thought that I was attractive, which he also didn't deny. And instead he was like, oh, I talk to people who don't have any picture all the time. And it's like, how many of you do that? At one point, you're going to want to meet the girl in person. And if she's not attractive to you as a man, you would decide that you don't want to move forward. Her personality would not be enough. It's not a matter of being superficial, fake, phony, whatever. As I said inside of a prior video to this one, it's life. It does matter. Beauty does matter, just like how money does. And there's nothing wrong with accepting that. Beauty is different in different countries, and different men have different things that they find to be attractive. And that's okay too. But the issue that I have is, why are we trying to paint this picture and make it seem like as a man, it's bad for you to like a woman that is attractive? And as a woman, it's bad for you to like a man that is a provider that can take care of you and or your children. Why is that a bad thing suddenly? What are we supposed to be attracted to then? Just personality? Let's be real. We don't literally fill out surveys when we're dating people when we're walking around on the street. We look at people first. We notice their appearance. For men, they notice youth and beauty. For women, we notice somebody that looks like they're financially stable, which is the reason why men care about things like having an expensive watch, having expensive clothing, having expensive cars. They do it to impress women, to show women, look, I can provide. If you get with me, this is the lifestyle you're going to have. Whereas for women, we want to show men that we are capable of doing domestic work. This is why we brag about how clean our houses are, how good we are at cooking, and we also like to look feminine and act feminine. We care about our hair, we care about our makeup, we care about our skin, etc. There's nothing wrong with that. But society would have you thinking otherwise. And I also find it very interesting that whenever men don't have money, they constantly try to make everyone seem like a gold digger for caring about the existence of it. But as soon as a man gets his hands on a little bit of money, the first thing that he does is try to use the fact that he has money to impress other women. Interesting. So, in this case, I even told him, like, sir, your profile, literally, without exaggeration, sign up for Patreon and you will see it. If you're a patron, please back me up on this. His profile literally talked about only his work, and it talked more about being a CEO. It didn't say anything about his hobbies or interests. I don't think it did. I have to go back and look at it. It talked more about his, not his hobbies and interests. It talked more about the fact that he's allegedly a CEO than it talked about anything else. He didn't mention anything about what he's looking for, didn't talk about marriage, nothing else. And he left important information, unwritten, wasn't filled out. And the funny thing is, as a woman, if I were to have a profile that didn't tell you whether or not I have children, that didn't tell you whether or not I've been divorced, that didn't tell you my height, that didn't tell you, what I look like, you couldn't see my picture, how many less matches would I have? Men care about this, but they want you to not care about it when it comes to them, especially when they know that they're not tall, they're not attractive, they're not educated. They want you to like them for who they are and to not be superficial, as they call it. Interesting. So because you're lazy and you're not willing to get a degree and get a real career and make more money, you lie and tell people that you have things that you don't really have to impress them. Then you get mad when people want you to prove that you really have what you claim you do. Interesting. And mind you, I'm not really asking him for his exact salary down to the dime, but it gives you the option, not even the option, you're supposed to fill it out, because when you don't, your profile is considered as incomplete. It gives you the option to say what the salary range is. It doesn't give you a part where you put in the exact dime, this is my exact monthly salary. So for example, you would say that I make between $80,000 to $100,000 a year. It can be anywhere between that $20,000 difference. And you might be thinking, why do people need to know that? Well, as I said before, being married, having children, it's not free. When you want to go on vacation, when your kids want to go to university, and especially living in a traditional country like Japan, people want to be able to make an informed decision and decide whether or not they want to get to know you. And your salary does have to do with it. Likewise, as a woman, I'm aware that men want to know what I look like before they meet me, which is why I have pictures on my profile. Do I really want random strangers to see my profile? I'm aware that people that are subscribed to me or people that hate my guts and know of my channel have seen me on pairs. That's kind of embarrassing for me too. But I also recognize that if I want to give myself the best chance of talking to a man that's serious about me, I need to have that listed and available for him. Because men don't like surprises. No man wants to meet a girl blindly and then have to decide after he's already wasted his money making a reservation for you that he's not even attracted to you, that he's not into you. I would much rather you decide up front that you don't like me because I'm a black woman, my skin is dark, I have a wide nose, I'm fat, I'm tall, whatever else. I would rather you make these decisions up front on your own than waste my time talking to you, getting to know you, and then meeting you and have you be disappointed because I'm not what you're attracted to, I'm not what you want, I'm not what you like. Likewise, as a man, you should want people to know how tall you are. Don't pretend like it doesn't matter, because for you as a man, you know that you get excited when you see that a girl is significantly shorter than you. You like short women. Even as a short man, you still like really short girls. And aside from that, as a short man, it catches your eye when you see a woman that is taller than her man out in public. You might even giggle at it yourself. So I hate that people act like, men in particular, act like they don't notice these things, they don't care about these things, and they don't matter. They do. Why would you want to raise a family in poverty and make things hard for yourself? Why would you as a woman want to waste your time investing in getting to know someone, talking to them, and then fall in love with them? See how they're trying to manipulate and trick you? So you waste your time and feel like you've invested in them and you've gotten to know them beyond just their money. And it's true, it can make you like somebody even although they're not your type. But the reality is, it's not fair. Because now I was tricked into liking you. I was tricked into thinking that, you're the CEO, you have this good salary, you're this tall man. And really when I meet you in person, it's like, oh, you're short, you have 3 children, you have 2 baby mamas. You're not what I thought you were going to be. You feel misled, and now you're torn between the two. Do I marry a man that can't provide, can't support a family? Or do I go back out and look for someone else? But we really hit it off. We connected. Isn't that how all pookies are? People that are broke give the best dick. They have the most time in the world to communicate with you. But they're the worst people to build with. And only women are being duped into believing that, money shouldn't matter and that they shouldn't care about these things. Whereas for men, they still care. They still care about beauty. They'll lie to you and pretend like they don't. But men, they're not scaling back the same way that women are. Women nowadays are talking about splitting bills. They're working just as hard as men do. They feel bad for the thought of wanting to be a housewife. And mind you, also want to say that being a housewife doesn't always mean that you are full-time at home like how it used to be back in the day. It can be you working part-time. That's probably what I want to do after I have children. It can be you having your own business, which is what I'm doing right now as a YouTuber. And I hope that I'll be able to continue doing this and do it even more after having children. Why do women have to compromise and go without important information for trying to make an informed decision on who we want to marry? But you as a man, you don't have to do that. You can pick and choose. You can decide who you want right up front because you get to see everything and you can ask everything. But for me as a woman, I'm not even allowed to know how much money you make. I need to sit back and wait possibly months, weeks, years, whatever the case is, before it finally becomes a little bit less awkward for me to ask you because you're likely never going to tell me yourself. I'm going to have to judge based off how you spend on me. I've been broke before and spent money like I had it. That can be extremely misleading. This is how black people in particular end up inside of these poor situations. We don't ask important questions. We're too busy focused on looks and height. And those things do matter, again, just like how your personality does matter as well. But because we're not asking important questions up front, the only thing that we know up front is that there's a high chance our baby is going to, be attractive. They're going to be cute. What we don't know is whether or not we're going to have money to put our kid in private school, to go to Disney World once a year. We don't know these things because we're literally just laying around with marrying just any old body. And we're being tricked into believing that if we care about your ability to be a man and provide like a man and to be masculine like a man is supposed to be, we are bad people for that. Interesting how men claim to hate feminism so much, but at the same time, they want to benefit from feminist ideas too. Extreme feminist ideas, I should say, in particular. Because real feminism is just women having the equal opportunity to do the same things that men do. It's not a matter of deciding as a woman you don't want to be treated like a lady at all, but having basic human rights, just being able to vote, education, and being paid equal wages for equal work. So, yeah, it really made me upset. There's so much more that can be talked about. I shared it on Patreon already, and I already gave a really long post telling you my 2 cents feelings on it. But it made me so angry that this guy, instead of him just admitting, okay, you're right, he stuck his heels inside of the ground and was like, nope, you are after me for the wrong reason, and I made my profile of people like you. And it's like, if you're trying to avoid gold diggers, you shouldn't mention that you're a CEO 50 times. Not to mention, as we talked later on in the conversation, you can see on Patreon, he later revealed that he had a thing for melanated people, as he put it, and biracial people. So I'm like, oh, so you're a colorist, and you assumed that I was half Japanese, or at least you saw that I was a black woman. So that means that you did care about my looks and appearance. So it's okay for you to choose a partner based off of their beauty, because you're attracted to black women as a black man yourself, but specifically the racially ambiguous type, if you will. It's okay for you to choose a woman based off of beauty, which is what men are mostly attracted to, but women are mostly attracted to men that are financially stable. Money, finances, is the truth. But unlike men, where beauty just benefits them and not their children, your money benefits us as a unit, as a family, because women are thinking about how we are going to take care of the household with the money that our man provides us with, the meals we are going to cook, the vacations we are going to plan, the school we're going to enroll our children into. But instead it's painted as the idea of us just getting Birkin bags, going to spas, getting plastic surgery, and traveling to Hawaii and, Thailand or whatever twice a year. That's the image that men like to paint of women choosing men based off of money. Men have always chosen women based off of their beauty, and it hasn't stopped, even today. But nowadays, women are being taught you shouldn't want to have a so-called transactional relationship, which I've talked about several times on my channel, that there's no such thing as that, because everything is transactional. You make the friends that you do because it's transactional. You want people to keep you company, to listen to your stories, to laugh and cry with you and at you. You want them to fill up seats at your birthday party, your wedding, your kid's birthday party, to go to the bar with you, to hang out with you on FaceTime, Zoom parties. It's transactional. You both get something out of it. Your marriage is the exact same way. A relationship is the exact same way. You work as a team, but just as a team, you both add different things to the project, to the assignment, to the group. You play different roles, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you choose to play both roles and play the man and woman's part, that's on you. But don't demonize women that decide they want to be feminine and they want to do things the traditional way. Men will do all of this, hooting and hollering about how they're masculine, alpha males, etc. And then you talk to them for 2 seconds and they want you to be satisfied with them having average jobs, no college education, no nothing. Some of them can't even spend a few days in the gym a week. Or the ones that do, then they feel like, because they lift weights, they're so masculine and macho. You can't even handle the household bills by yourself, like your father and grandfather did. So, yeah, it just made me so irritated, because I was thinking, this is the type of bullshit that you deal with when you do try to date within your race, or dating foreigners, period. You play games with them that you just don't have to do with Japanese men, which is a big part of why I do prefer to date them over dating foreigners here, beyond just living within this country. And don't get me wrong, there's tons of doo-doo with Japanese men. You're never going to see me putting them on a pedestal and worshiping them, like how a lot of these fetishizers do. But I can admit there are some cultural differences that I do like about Japanese men over my own fellow black men, American men, and vice versa. For example, I can say that for black men, I like the fact that I can talk to them openly and have deep discussions and conversation. But with a Japanese man, I can't do that. However, when it comes to things like, finances, wanting to have a wedding, an engagement ring, etc., I don't have to pull teeth when asking about paying bills or explaining that I want to have an engagement ring or a wedding, etc. It's expected and understood here in Japan. But with a black man, what you need a ring for? Isn't, my love enough? You have to fight for these things and beg for these things. And as I already gave you all statistics before, black women are the ones who suffer the most in these relationships because we are the ones that end up in poverty when we get a divorce. We are the ones that end up getting pregnant. And our men leave us and, skyrocketing numbers in comparison to other races on average. We are the ones that take the blame for being a single mother, never the men. And then when you try to make smart choices and want to ask these questions and know these things, then you're a bad person. And this man has no idea where I'm living or what I'm doing. Like, trust me, I don't need your funky dollars. I got my own. But as a woman who wants to be taken care of and wants to have a provider husband, I want you to have yours too. I don't want you to look at what I have and be like, oh, she's good. It's not the way that it goes. That's feminine energy. And then in this case, sir, you are 42 years old. The fact that you're hiding whether or not you've been married and hiding whether or not you have children, it leads me to believe that just as your salary is not there, because it's probably low, you likely have children, which is why you didn't answer that question. You made sure you told me that your body is muscular in your profile. You made sure you told me your height, because in Japan it's seen as tall, 179 centimeters. But you definitely shied away from the topic of degrees, salaries, children, marriage. And he's playing himself, because I'm thinking to myself, if you really think you're avoiding gold diggers by your profile, and that people are just talking to you as a friend on this app because he tried to, go back and say, oh, well, this app could be used for the purposes of whatever. I've talked to people, this, that, and the other. And it's like, those girls are playing you. They're looking for a handout by staying in contact with you. It's a marriage app. Sachiko might tell you that she's using the app to make friends to you because you're a black man, a dark-skinned black man at that. But she's trying to get some BBC and some flued out money and free English lessons. She's not telling Toto that. She's telling Toto that she wants her pussy to be slayed and her ovaries are activated. She wants babies. You're a dummy if you believe otherwise. You're being used. So, I can go on ranting about this much further, but all I want to say is, this is the type of bullshit that you deal with when you talk to foreign men. They come to Japan, but they want to carry, and he talked about this inside his messages too. There's so much more to this conversation. You have to sign up for Patreon to see it. But he tried to talk about me being left-brained and tried to make me feel like I was shallow, whatever. But it's like, okay, I'm shallow for caring about money, which is needed to survive, needed to pay bills. Try telling your landlord and electric company that you love your wife when those bills come due. You don't have to be a beautiful woman to, cook food, clean a house, or raise children. You don't even need to have an education for that, but I happen to have all of that. Interesting. So, yeah, and again, it always, whoever made that rule was a dusty man. The idea that salary should be taboo and hidden, because that's a very heavy thing in American culture, and I talked about it in my last video. I can't say whether it's factual or not because I don't really know, but I saw from another Chinese man that in China, it's a common question to be asked when meeting somebody, even over dinner. Even in business circumstances. How old are you? What's your job? What's your position? How much money do you make per year? And by doing this, for one, it should encourage you to want to go to school and get, a high-paying job. And two, you could save time as a woman. Because now, instead of me wasting my time getting to know a dusty, some broke-ass man, I can decide immediately, this man does not make enough money to provide for a family, which is what I'm looking for. Likewise for you as a man, by having women with profile pictures, which most women do, you can decide immediately, is this woman my type? Do I date women that look like her? Is she attractive to me? Do I want to have children with this person? Do I want to have sex with this woman and look her in the eyes? You can decide if you want to do that with me or not. You can see what I look like. You can decide that I'm not your type. You don't have to waste time getting to know me. I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. To one man, they will look at me and think I'm the ugliest woman they've ever seen. To another, I'm the most beautiful. I want the latter. I've said that before. You have the right to choose a woman based off of beauty. I have the right to choose a man based off his height, based off his income. You can add whatever other criteria you want to. I talked about people have preferences for weight. For one man, I might be too fat for him. For another man, I'm the perfect weight. I'm not trying to argue these men down on what they like and what they're attracted to. I can laugh at some of the comical things. For example, there'll be people that say they don't like obese women. It's like, why you like me then? Like, oh, I get the exception to the rule passed up because my body's proportionate. I'm a black woman. Whatever. So this is why I don't bother with it, because you end up with dusty behavior like this. Dusty and dangerous. They want you to take risks and chances with them. They want to waste your time, screw you over, literally knock you up, marry you with no wedding, no formal commitment even a lot of the time. And then they blame you when you want to get child support. They blame you for, there not being enough, food on the table, not enough money to pay bills, etc. And yeah, it kind of is your fault as a woman because you made a poor decision. But society has been guiding us to do that. We've been taught, don't ask these questions, don't care about these things. We can stick our head in the sand all we want to. Money will always matter. It does. You need it to survive. No matter how much men try to fight it, men are naturally drawn to beauty and being intelligent, well-spoken, easy to get along with, funny, etc. Those are things that make men like you and crave you more. But the way that a man is even going to be willing to try to get to know you in the first place is going to be because they're attracted by your beauty. Any man that I've ever talked to, the first thing that he did was he looked at me and saw attraction. He liked me first. Then he got to know me. No man talks to me first and then decides, you know what? I really like you. You seem really intelligent. They'll lie to you. I've been told that before. But it's not true. Because otherwise, why are you talking to me and not the 60-year-old woman? And not the woman with 5 baby mamas? Why not the ugly big girl? Oh, right, because you found me attractive. You were drawn to me based off of my beauty first, and from there you decided, okay, this woman looks good to me. I want to get to know her better. I want to date her. And there's nothing wrong with that. I spend time trying to look good. I'm glad you noticed. Likewise, as a man, if you're doing what most men should and do, you spent time getting an education, working hard at your job to have the money to afford those nice things, to attract beautiful women. There's a difference between somebody choosing a partner wisely that can provide and someone using someone because they have money. Likewise, there's a difference between a man that is running around from bed to bed with beautiful women and a man that is willing to spend money on a woman or date or marry a woman that he finds to be very beautiful, very attractive. We don't have to demonize these things. Men and women are simply different. We like and want different things. Shoot, sometimes as a woman I feel conflicted because I talk about this all the time in a joking way, but it's the truth. You come across people all the time as a woman where you see them in real life and even on profiles. I was like, oh my God, this man is 6'2". He's so fine. I'm gonna tear up my guts type fine, okay? And you think about it, and it's like, okay, he has a sleeve of tattoos, he has piercings, he's dressed in street clothes. Let's be real. We can tell immediately here in Japan, this person is not a salary man. He doesn't have the money to provide and properly take care of a family. Now, I can choose to be, the person that decides, I want the Instagram aesthetic. I want a handsome man that I can take pictures with, travel with, and have fun with. It might be a really fun and entertaining relationship, but when bills have to be paid, you want to travel, you want to take time off from work after you have your baby for a couple of years, you can't afford to do that anymore because you chose poorly. Your man decides to leave you. Even if you get child support, it's going to be $100 to $200 a month. Pennies. You can't live off of that. You didn't build properly. You married a boy, not a man. You have to choose. Do you want a man that is just handsome and tall? Or do you want a man that makes money? Pick your poison. The reality is, you normally can't find the best of both worlds because normally when a man has one, he doesn't have the other. You can argue the same thing for women, but I'm specifically talking from a woman's perspective with dating men, and specifically as a black woman. And in my community and in my culture, black women heavily outweigh the men when it comes to education. We are more educated than they are, and we normally earn more than they do. And as I mentioned before, statistically, black women are the most likely to become hypogamous, meaning that we are the ones that are leveling up a man when we do choose to get married and or date. The same is not said about black men. So, I'm not trying to make this a race or gender war. I'm speaking facts. It's not a matter of bashing. It's the truth. It's facts. It's statistics. You can look it up for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Search it for yourself. So, yeah, I just find it really upsetting and sad that it's like, you can't ask serious questions. You can't know important information. You have to waste your time and put yourself in uncomfortable situations to ask people, which makes you get labeled and look like a bitch or a gold digger, when really, these are things they should just tell you up front to begin with. Like I said, as a man, would you not be upset and disappointed if you were talking to me and you were thinking, oh, okay, this girl's thick, and then you come and meet me and I show up to the date being 250 pounds and I'm 6 feet tall and my head is shaved? Wouldn't you want to know that beforehand? Like, some men like that, and that's cool. But you should have the right to choose. You should not be blinded and thrown off when we meet in person. You should be able to know, okay, this is the girl that I saw online. Likewise for me, when you present yourself as being a man that has this high-paying job, all of these talents, doing all of this stuff, and then I meet you and it turns out later on, oh, I don't have a degree. Oh, my business is just getting started. You're not even making $100,000 a year, sir. So you get all of this stuff later on when it's too late. You're invested in a relationship. But for a lot of women, we do become emotionally attached. We believe that we can help build these men. That's not our job to do that. And especially as black women, because I'm going to keep it real. For most black men, they don't stay with their women. When they do level themselves up, they get new women, or they cheat, which leads their girl to leave. Why would you want to stay with a man that's not respecting your relationship? Most men aren't willing to stay with a woman that doesn't respect theirs. And when they do stay, they normally cheat back. But as a woman, you're not allowed to do that. You should just forgive him and move on. So much more can be said about that. I think I'm pretty much done with this. But it just aggravates me so much that we can't ask serious questions and men will bait women. And I see this on YouTube all the time. Oh my God, I'm about to drag this video on even longer. I see it on YouTube all the time where you have videos of people trying to, bait and trick gold diggers. A lot of them are fake. Some of them are possibly real. But you see what I'm trying to say? These men do stuff to put themselves in positions where they have nice things, which they know is going to attract women. And then you're bad for liking the man or having interest in him because, oh, he has a nice car, he has, a nice watch. I think that he can provide me and my children with this lifestyle. It's how we think biologically. Our instinct is to find a man that we believe is going to be the best provider, that's going to pass on the best genes to our children. That's the way that we think. Likewise, men feel the same way. They look for women that have bodies that look like they can bear children. Bodies that look sexy, that look different from a man. They like curves. They like women that look like women. That's just factual. They like beauty. They're attracted to it. They like femininity. It makes men horny. It turns them on, and that's okay. How about we do videos showing men not liking girls because they're wearing an ugly mask and a fat suit, and then they take it off and reveal that they have the perfect 10 body and a beautiful ass face? You never see a video like that, do you? But they love to show videos of women being baited and tricked into dating a man or wanting to talk to a man because he appears to have money. I'm sorry, but even myself, most women would fall for that trap or trick. Why would I be interested inside of a man that appears to be a bum? Especially if he's unattractive. Even if I found you attractive, my natural instinct is thinking as an adult, I can't like you because I know that you're incapable of providing for us. Likewise, a woman that is unattractive and or obese, don't get mad at men for liking beauty. Yes, if you look better and you weigh less, the truth hurts. You're going to have more options of men to date. I've seen some women complain about that too and try to demonize the whole pretty privilege type thing. And it's like, no, accept the fact that when you choose to be lazy, you don't want to work out, you make up excuses for why you're fat, what's going to happen? Less people are going to be willing to date. Some of that is just simply luck and chance. You can't change the way you look, but you can do things to enhance your appearance. You can eat right. You can take good care of your skin. We have makeup, hair, all type of stuff that men cannot use and do without being deemed as gay or judged for it, etc., which I understand, but I'm just saying, we have the advantage in that field. Okay, well, it's like, why do we as women have to be shamed for wanting a man that can take care of a family? But men don't have to be shamed for liking women that are attractive. It rarely happens. Men date women out of their league all the time based off of the money that they have. But women, even if they look good, even if they equally have money, we are deemed as being bad and full of shit and complicated and masculine if we want a man to match or exceed what we do. Men are complaining about having to go to school and get higher education, and about choosing better careers to match or exceed where women are. They're lazy. Whereas for women, look at all the beauty standards that we have nowadays that didn't exist back in the day. It used to be where to be beautiful as a woman, all you have to do is shut your mouth, put on a light layer of makeup, and not eat so damn much. Now we have to contour our face, we need nose jobs, we need tummy tucks, you need breast implants, ass implants, Botox, the list goes on. You gotta have full lips, you need big eyes, perfect eyebrows. It's never enough. Do you see how crazy and unfair that is for women? And our stuff that we have to go through is painful. All you have to do is sit at school for another 4 years, if even that. Earn a degree that can be used for a lifetime, never expires. Me, on the other hand, if I get those injections or implants, I gotta come back every 1 to 3 years. Some of them give you 5 to 10 years. They sag. They deflate. They can kill me if they leak out into my body. It takes time to adjust to them. I get judged and clowned for having a plastic body. Do you see all of the stuff that you have to go through as a woman? So, I'm through with this. All I gotta say is, I don't bother dating foreign men for that reason, because they give you the runaround. They don't want to be serious with you. They want to use the fact that they're a foreign man, that they're tall. They lie and exaggerate the money that they have. Or they do have it, but then they want to act like they don't, because they feel disgusted and happy at the same time. They're glad that they have money, which allows them to get women that are otherwise out of their league, but then they try to shame you for liking them for the fact they have money. So they try to spend as little on you as possible, or make you feel bad for being curious about his funds. Interesting. Very interesting. Whereas for a woman, we recognize the fact. We get options. We are the ones who talk about this are pretty privileged thing to begin with. We recognize that we get options and we have opportunities based off of how good we look. So for a lot of us, we choose to go the extra mile to look good. Whether it be through surgery and makeup or diet and exercise or a combination of all of them. We do what we have to do. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what we do. A woman that wants to get married should be able to know whether you have a college education or not. Know whether you have children or not. Know about your marital history. We should know what your salary range is. It's important information. I should not be obligated or required to talk to you for weeks, months, or days to get this information, just as you as a man shouldn't be required to talk to me for weeks, months, or days to know what I look like, to know if I have children, if I've been divorced. All of the questions that I had for him was answered in my profile, including my salary, my height, my weight, everything. So if I'm telling you this about myself, and I didn't even just willingly say this on my own, these are information. This is information that the profile, the dating site asked for you to answer. You are prompted to answer these questions, and until they have all been answered, your profile is considered as incomplete on your end. So it's not just me coming up with my own questionnaire for these men, or me saying, well, I wrote this on my profile, so you got to write it in yours. I don't expect that, but this is the reason why I don't entertain these men, because the reality is, no shame to them, but just keeping it real. This is why I say that for women, we really have it. It's a win-win situation for us. It's easier for us to marry up, so to speak, because we can easily date a Japanese man that has a normal career and has a good career at that, a good job. Whereas for the men here, most of them are either doing teaching work or an IT-related job, meaning that their salary is low. On the highest end for them, they're going to be making about $6,000 a month, if even that. That's the high end. For you as a woman, you can easily make a man making $10,000 or more dollars per month, which I also want to add, it's not really a lot of money, especially when you're living in a major city like Tokyo and you're trying to raise a family. So it's an honest and legitimate question to ask. You wouldn't want to date a woman that you don't know how old she is or whether she's attractive or not. You want to know that information. I have the right to ask it too. I wouldn't judge you as a man or think of you as bad or shallow for you asking me. I understand why you want to know. I have questions too. You started off the conversation asking me to clarify whether I was biracial or not, which shouldn't have even mattered. So it's okay for you to be a colorist. It's okay for you to like me because I'm beautiful to you. But I can't like somebody based off of whether or not they can provide. And forget about liking them for that reason solely. I can't consider that. You're withholding important information that can help me make that decision. And to be honest, you're hurting yourself. Because as I said before, I would find it much more hurtful to withhold information and then meet somebody in person and they find this stuff out later on and then decide, oh, I don't like you. Like, imagine if I had no profile picture. You might be able to tell, okay, she's a foreign woman. But what if you weren't willing to date a black girl? I'm keeping it real. Or what if you thought that I was Japanese? I would much rather you decide that you don't like me beforehand than waste my time, effort, money, and energy investing in you and then later getting my feelings hurt because I discover I'm not your type. So it's whatever. And again, like, I hate that whenever you try to tell people why these things matter, they play dumb with you and pretend like they don't understand how important money is. These same people, they make sure they get the latest iPhone, the latest pair of Jordans, they'll, wear designer clothes, they'll have designer wallets, etc. So they know why money matters. They know the importance of looking like they have money, and they know why they want to look like they have money, to impress women. But then when you show that you're impressed by this stuff, then men get mad at you and complain about only being loved and only being cared for and only being desired because of their ability to provide. Women are only desired for their ability of domestic stuff, their ability to look good, which ultimately goes back into sex. Our ability to be submissive and sexy is what we're judged based off of. Boo fucking who? You're being judged based off of your education and salary. A lot of us are judged on that too. I'm pretty and I have money. I'm not rich, but in comparison to the average foreign woman here, I am. So, I'm done. I'm not entertaining this crap. This is a big part of why I don't bother dating black men. It was really funny because I literally got a message, not a message, but a super like from another black guy that was capping his profile on Tinder. He talked about how he was a business owner, but then of course no information. He wanted you to message him to find out more. Why would I do all that with you when, while you're playing these mind games with me, Tato, the Japanese man, his profile tells me exactly what he does, straight to the point, and unlike just bragging about himself like how you're doing, he also tells me what he's looking for in his partner. Don't get mad and blame Japanese men or blame Japan. Sir, you're living in Japan. You're also purposefully looking for Japanese women. If you're going to live here and date them, you need to get used to their culture and do things the way that they do. This is one of those things where assimilation ain't finna kill you. I would normally talk about my time frame for getting married and my dating profile in America, but I'm glad that we can do that in Japan. So, I'm done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please give me your 2 cents down below. Feel free to disagree, argue. Perfect timing. I set a timer set. Feel free to disagree below and give me your own 2 cents. Maybe you feel differently about this. I had somebody disagree on Patreon, but like I said, the problem is the double standard. I understand that me asking him how much money he made is a direct and blunt question, but it's an important question to ask. And this is Japan, not America. So we're not judging it based off of whether it's appropriate or not. In America, we're in Japan. So it's fair game. And again, it's not my question. It's a profile question. You avoided answering. So I have the right to ask you, hey, why did you avoid that question? So now my phone is blowing up. Wow, okay. So, yeah. Anyway, please feel free to give me your 2 cents down below. It's okay to disagree with me. This is not a cult. I don't mind you disagreeing, but I am going to tell you my own 2 cents too inside the comments. Ladies, if you have any experience with this being in Japan or even in your respective home countries, please feel free to share. Do you hear what I'm saying? Why should we as women have to take a chance and gamble with whether or not a man can provide, but men don't have to take a chance and gamble whether or not we're attractive? Because yes, some men will like you anyway, even with no picture, but the majority of men, they won't even give you the time of day if you don't look good. And while he might talk to you and message you as a friend, he not gonna marry you if you're not attractive. Well, as a woman, I should have the right to decide I'm not gonna marry you if you broke, and I shouldn't be judged for it. So yeah, give me your 2 cents in the comments down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. You can also go to my YouTube channel's homepage and search. I have playlists. I have tons of journals and rants like this that you can watch, where I go in detail on various topics, mostly dealing with things here in Japan. I make mostly videos talking about Japan, so if you have any questions about working, studying, dating, or living here, please check out my YouTube channel's homepage. I have playlists. You can use the search bar and find specific topics that you would like to hear about. Otherwise, I would appreciate if you would follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Comic95. I have a Snapchat and TikTok at Comic the Savior. I have a Facebook fan page at Comic95 the Savior and a blog at Comic95.com. That's all for this video, so thank you for listening and thank you for watching, and I hope you will watch another video.